Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are, and welcome to this 14th video in the series on the 4 ways of changing the mind. We're in the 3rd now, which is about karma, cause and effect, and this is the 2nd video on that topic. In the first video, we explored some very basic general things. Before we go on to explore a little further, I must underline one very, very important thing. Here we are talking about the contemplations of the 4 ways of changing the mind. We are not just looking at Buddhist theory in the way that we might study any interesting topic in nature, in science, some set of ideas. We're not looking at something out there and trying to understand Buddhism, Buddhist theory. We are looking at something in here. We are trying to understand our very own minds and lives, who we are, and we are using the Buddha's teaching to do that. It's very important to remind oneself of that again and again. It's not about ideas, abstract notions. It's about us. It's about life. So we saw last time this general underlying principle of karma, that who we are now in this life is the result of many things, but in particular of what we did in past lives. And that what we're doing now is going to have repercussions, consequences for us in our future lives. That's very important. And also, I think I mentioned that point that it's so ironical. It's not as though we will come back in the future life as we are now and carry on the story. There'll be a different person, a new person, but nevertheless, that person will pick up the karma that has been made in this life, just like we are picking up the karma in this life that whoever we were in past lives, we made. It's not that strange an idea, because after all, in this life, you know very well that at one point you were what the textbooks call a wriggling little worm. You're a baby. You're not that person now. You're not wriggling and helpless and just starry-eyed before the world. At one point you were in primary school. You're not like that anymore. At one point you were a teenager, coping with everything that happens as you grow up. You're not that person anymore. So we can see in one life changes, evolutions from decade to decade. Sometimes we gain as the years go by. Sometimes we lose faculties, we use abilities as the years go by. But we see that one thread running through it all. And even if we are so different now from what we were 30, 40 years ago, nevertheless, sometimes what we did then still has its repercussions now. So if we think about that, then we can understand how from one life to the next, after going through that enormous shock of dying, bardo, 9 months in the womb, growing up all over again, how we are in one way a brand new person. There's a big forgetting of everything that was there before. But at the same time, we will, when the time is right, pick up the threads from before. This is really what we're trying to understand with karma, cause and effect. We want to get the main point, to think, what am I doing with my life today? And what does that mean for tomorrow and for my future lives? We need to examine that again and again and again, because what we are doing today will make us who we will be in the next life. It will determine who we meet, what happens, so many things. And then also, although we don't spend a lot of time as Buddhists thinking about who was I in a past life, if anything, we think about what did I do in a past life. It's much more important. We don't need to have a character, a name to think who we were. It's what we did. So we don't spend a lot of time on that because we are very concerned with now and we're very concerned with the future, because those two things are in our hands. We can do something. The past is gone. We can't go back. No matter how much we'd want to, we can't. But nevertheless, if we do look back, then we're mainly concerned about what we did or what we must have done. And so it says, if you want to know who you were and what you did before, look at who you are now. And it's amazing. We are each so different. Even all of these studies on twins and people who grew up in the same family, same place, show how unique we each are. And so, why am I like that? And then if we understand karma, when we understand it more and more, it starts to explain what we must have done in past lives to give us the karma we have, to be who we are in this life, and to experience life around us, in our family, in our work, and so on, as we do. So a lot of karma involves thinking about past, present, and future, and in particular the present moment. It's all we have. It's just one series of present moments, and each moment gives us an opportunity to do something. Karma means action. So it's all about, what are you doing just now? What did you do today? What will you do tomorrow? And then we see that if we do virtue, in itself it is good. And then the repercussions that come back to us in the future will be good, pleasant, happy ones. And once we start to look into this subject of what are we doing, then we come across this very important idea of body, speech, and mind. And when we analyze karma, we look at physical karma, speech karma or communication, interaction karma, speech karma, and mind karma. It's the main topic today. They are not just three arbitrary areas. They are the three main areas, and what we need to understand is that body and speech karma are not the same as mind karma. Why not? Because our body and speech karma involves interacting with each other, with other humans, with the animal realm, with other living beings, and also with the environment, the living world. That's how we interact, by what our body does, by what this amazing thing called speech does and says. But our mind is something different. It's something very intimate. Only we experience our mind. It's very private, very intimate. And what other people experience of our mind are its consequences. They can only guess our mind by how we look, what we say, our body language, our deeds. But they cannot see directly or experience directly our mind. Now already there we have something important to think about, to go away and contemplate what are body, speech and mind, and to try and feel how this thing we call my mind is so personal, so intimate, and only available to ourselves. Body and speech is our interaction with others and the karmas that we make physically, verbally, produce results that nearly always only come back in the long term, in the next life or in future lives. Now here, of course, there will be immediate results. Of course, you wouldn't speak if somebody couldn't hear, and you know very well that what you are going to say will have an effect on them. With our body, there is an immediate consequence, depending on what we're doing. But we're not looking at that when we look at karma, cause and effect. We're looking about how what you've done will shape your future. So then, what we do with our body and our speech that makes body and speech karma generally only comes back to us in future lives. There are several reasons for that. One of them being that if we make karma with another sentient being, it may not be for one life, two lives, many lives before my karma and the other person's karma actually brings us together again to trigger whatever karma we've made together in the past. If it's not the other person, then it might be the circumstances. For instance, if we take one very strong karma, such as long-term retreat in Buddhism, somebody may go for lifetimes before they come back to the opportunity of being in a long-term retreat. And it's only when they go into the retreat and they're doing those particular practices that they maybe did many lifetimes ago, that the particular karma for that practice, the obstacles somebody met or the blessings that somebody had from before, will suddenly manifest. And they lie dormant in all the time in between. So generally when we look into physical karma and speech karma, we are looking at actions that involve others or the world and that have their karmic consequences in future lives. But now we come to mind karma, and that is different. Thank goodness, because if we had to wait 1, 2, 3 or 4 lifetimes to get the results of the changes we're making happen in our mind, that wouldn't be very good news. All of the good thoughts, the loving kindness, the mindfulness wouldn't change us. We'd just have to wait and wait until all of a sudden it came back with a bang in the future. It's not like that. This mind karma, which doesn't involve interaction with other, that's inside us, is a constantly ongoing story. So that in this lifetime, if we do beautiful things with our mind, change our mind, meditate a lot, spend long time in compassion, loving kindness and so on, then the results will blossom in this lifetime. And I've had the privilege and the beauty of seeing many of my friends and colleagues change so wonderfully through the Buddha Dharma, their mind. The Dharma practice may not get rid of their physical karma. They may still experience poverty throughout their life. They may still be subject to illness, and so on and so on. Those things can be longer to change. Even when we look at the life of the Buddha, we see in his very last lifetime he still had little bits of karma to experience and clean up. Physical things, interaction with others. But mind karma is ongoing. It's very different. Body, speech, mind. Body and speech karma we make through interaction. The results come back in, mainly future lives. Mind karma is an ongoing story. What Gampopa tells us is that of those three, body and speech are the servants, mind is the boss, the master. Because, although it might not sometimes seem like that, we are not just mindless machines, robots, doing any old thing. Most of what we do in life starts in our mind. It starts with a wish, a desire. It starts with an upset and anger. Whatever it may be, when we look closely, what we say is due to our mind. What we do with our body is due to our mind. Whatever the case, with our Buddhist training, it has to become a fact that mind is the boss. When we look, for instance, at animals, even sweet animals like dogs and so on, they can be so friendly, so loving, so faithful. But if a dog suddenly gets into a fight with another dog, it lets its anger take over. It doesn't even think twice. If it suddenly gets frisky and fancies another dog, it would just jump on top of it. So normally with us humans, we don't let our basic instincts, our animal instincts, drive us. We have moral values. We have a mind that knows how we want to live our life. And then that moderates our physical actions. It moderates our speech. Let's hope so. But there's room for improvement there. So what we definitely want to do is make it more and more the case that mind is the boss, and body and speech are the servants, and that mind is a good mind and a good boss, working in harmony with the servants, with the employees. Then body, speech, mind. Body karma sees us as part of an infinite network of physicality. Our body, this strange bag of bones and flesh and skin and hair that we live in, and from which we're inseparable until we die, is there, and there are other bodies. Sometimes we're attracted to them, sometimes we're repulsed by them. There are other human bodies. There are other sentient beings in animal bodies, insect bodies. We're talking about the interaction, the interdependence of those things. Once you have a body, then it needs food. We need to eat. We need to use the body of the universe, the things that grow. And then for those who are not vegetarians, other living beings. Feed this body. This body depends on other things. It's an interaction. And so every day, our physicality, the mere fact of being human, has implications for the whole world, as we're very aware of these days, as we think of the food chain, then the clothes we wear, the raw materials that make them, where do they come from, the people that make them, what conditions do they work under. This very fact of having a body, dressing it, washing it, feeding it, putting it inside a house, a safe place, making it comfortable, making life pleasant. All of that involves a lot of doing. Every day, for all of us. We're all doing that. All of us. So we're looking at what are we doing and how is that affecting others. Is it benefiting or is it harming? And what we want to do, of course, is make our physical presence in this world something that only brings benefit. And the same with our speech. this amazing ability to produce sounds with meaning that have an effect on people. And not just speech, but this area of speech means all of our interaction with others, the way we influence them, but in particular speech, talking. Again, we do it every day. What we say, how we say it, has an effect on our family, children, parents, on our workmates, companions, on the world. What we post on internet, what we write. All these ways we express ourselves, again, is not in a vacuum. This is part of a living, changing universe. We are doing that, doing it, and often making karma. And again, we want it only to be something positive. And behind that is the mind, the boss. If the mind is good and getting better, then more and more that will influence what we say and what we do. And the way we nurture the mind is in many ways, but in particular through mindfulness. Here I'm talking about Buddhist mindfulness. I have nothing against secular mindfulness, but here I'm talking about Buddhist mindfulness because it covers so much more than secular mindfulness. It is such a deep, profound and comprehensive picture. Its scope, its whole remit is very different. So it's through the Buddha's teachings on mindfulness that we make our mind wiser, quieter and more skillful in its action. Well, that gives us something to think about for today. Body, speech and mind. Our body, our speech, as part of an infinite, interconnected universe. Our mind as something very personal that no one else ever knows, only ourselves, but that dominates and influences the way we act in the world and for the world. So next time when we come back, we'll have a quick look at the main karmas of body, speech and mind. Until then, go well, and I look forward to speaking with you again. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.